Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Thursday Thoughts. Hopefully we are live on all of our channels this week. We are currently running on YouTube, Facebook, TDIQ, which is running behind me, and we are also running on our website for those of you that are joining us on our website. So first and foremost, hello, welcome to this week's Thursday Thoughts, and I just want to say that I've got everything up in front of me again as I normally would, and because there was no Thursday Thoughts last week, there's an awful lot for us to be getting through. So we are going to try and get through everything as quick as we can. I'm not sure we're going to do it in our normal 30-minute time slot, so we will try our very best to do everything we can in as quick as we possibly can. So thank you to all of you who were online waiting last Thursday for Thursday Thoughts. I did actually say that on the previous Thursday Thoughts that there would be no Thursday Thoughts last week, but I know that a number of you were waiting for that. My mistake, I didn't put out a tweet and we didn't put out a notification. So hopefully you can all hear me, you can all see me, and everything is good. So like I said, last week we had the last session we had a few tech issues. YouTube was playing us around and our software decided to throw a hissy as well. So hopefully we will not have such repeats this week, and we're going to do the normal. We're going to go through industry news, of which I've got an absolute heap of industry news this week, and we will also head on through some member news, and we will then have some TDW news updates, and then we had a stack of questions over the last 2 weeks, of which I've extracted about 8 to answer. So hopefully IT behaves itself and all the streams behave itself, and we can get going and we can go through all of our stuff that we want to go through, which is fantastic. So I'm going to go through, just in case anybody does want to get in touch with us, you know all of the social channels that you can touch base with us. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those things, that if you want to send in your questions to us to be featured on Thursday Thoughts, then please do get in touch with us through any one of those particular mediums, and one of the guys will pick it up, and then we will decide if your question is suitable to appear here on our wonderful Thursday Thoughts. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to dive straight into some of the industry news that I've picked up on over the last few weeks. Now, I'm just going to change all the camera angles here slightly. So originally I had a second camera set up and it was just getting too much for my brain, so I left it as it was last time. So it seems that a lot of you like this kind of format, this layout, which is exactly what we will continue to deliver for you. So last week I mentioned, or the last Thursday Thoughts, I mentioned that Boeing was hit with a ransomware WannaCry at one of its facilities, and I did a little bit more research, I did a little bit more looking at that, and it turns out that it was very quickly contained and it was very quickly shut down, and I believe it was at one of the maintenance facilities, and one of the press releases I read said that none of the military installations were affected, which is obviously important. Now what's really interesting about this is that only yesterday I was listening to an interview on the local radio here in the UK, and it's talking about how these kind of attacks are going to increase, and it's going to say, and they believe that all of this cloud storage, these cloud services, are the ones that are going to be vulnerable, the ones that are going to be attacked, and they see that this is just going to increase exponentially. So very, very interesting and troubling times as well for those of us that do host lots of our stuff online. But we're going to talk a bit more about that over a couple of articles and podcasts that we have planned coming up. This, I thought, was very interesting news from BMT. Here in the UK, the government has just set up a commercial shipping, or a shipping think tank, and I want to make sure I get the name right. Sarah Kenny, Chief Exec from BMT, has been selected to sit on that group. Now, if you know who BMT are, they're members of TDW, and they have deep domain knowledge in shipping, military and commercial. And she is going to sit, Sarah is going to sit on that group, which I think is exciting. Now, what will be interesting, I'm not sure at this point whether technical information will be too high level or too low level for that high level group. But it'll be interesting to see if ship decks and things like that come up as a discussion point, especially as Team Defence Information here in the UK are trying to position standards and specifications as competitive advantages if you use them. So it'll be interesting to see if ship decks does appear on those groups. This one, very interesting, which I picked up on the wires. Airbus and Bombardier have partnered on the C-Series, and this has been going on, this discussion's been going on for a little while. And you know, I don't know who this picture is, very nice picture, but again, all of these articles we'll put links to below, so you can go and read the articles yourself at your leisure. These are just little testers and teasers for you. What I've read in the releases on this particular news item is it looks like that basically Bombardier are going to be bringing sort of the technology and the know-how, and Airbus are going to be bringing lots of the soft skills, the support, the maintenance, you know, those kind of things. That's what I'm reading. I may be wrong, but that sounds like it could be very interesting, and great news for for Bombardier. Because, as we all know, Bombardier has been in the news a lot recently, and yeah, I thought that was super interesting, and I thought that that would be something that is great for us to shout about. This one I got pretty excited about. Is Pratt & Whitney Canada has announced that they are going for the second-hand engine market, and what they are going to do is part of their contract and part of trying to capture this market and trying to become sort of, you know, maintaining engines within that market, is they are offering, and it says in the release, 6 months of complimentary technical publications for their engines. Now, this I think is super interesting, because not only does that align beautifully with the podcast that we did 2 weeks ago on ROI in technical information, what they're doing here is they're using technical publications to drive revenue in other areas. And in sales speak, you would call that a loss lead. But what they are doing is they're quite categorically saying you'll get access to our technical publications for free for 6 months, and then after that I'm sure there will be some kind of subscription plan or some kind of maintenance plan for information. And you know, bravo Pratt and Whitney for doing that. I think that, you know, most people are seeing the value now in their technical publications, and you know, when I see these kind of releases and I see people like Pratt and Whitney actually saying, you know what, we see the value here, and we know that if we offer this for free, it's going to resonate with our customers. And I think that is a fantastic and great opportunity for Pratt and Whitney, and they're doing well there. This one I picked up on General Dynamics Land Systems, picked up, I think it's a 14-year support program for a heavy assault vehicle to Saudi Arabia. Now, this is difficult to find information on because the Saudi Arabians have asked for all sorts of confidentiality agreements, and there's only so much public information that can be made available. But it does say that there will be a support program in place, which I am assuming will include technical publications and technical information around those vehicles. Again, I'll put a link below to that. This one was super interesting because it's two companies that I haven't spent a great deal of time looking into. It's Thought Focus and Altham, I think you say it. I believe they're based in Germany, and what they're saying is they're integrating technical publications into e-commerce platforms, and it's hard to say. You know, we all know that can mean a number of different things. That can mean a multitude of things. But you know, what they're saying is that they are looking at how these two can come together. So I'm assuming it's going to be things for parts ordering, consumables, maybe buying training or buying additional, content, that kind of stuff. I believe that's the kind of stuff that they will be looking at doing. We have reached out to them and we have asked them for comment, and we've asked for a little bit more information. Nothing heard as yet, but hopefully we'll get something back from them. I thought that was interesting. Viking Air on the Otter series of aircraft. Now, Viking Air, the release itself, I believe, is a little bit contradictory, because it says that they're in the second year, but then the release says that they're about to provide maintenance. But anyway, this release also calls out technical publications and says that the contract is that they are to ensure that they keep all information current and up to date for the 400 series aircraft, which I think is fantastic. I have been lucky enough to work with or support some Viking capability in the past, which is good news for them, I'm absolutely sure. So this one I thought was also interesting, which is Rolls-Royce and MTU series 4000. Now, I pulled this out because obviously, if you know MTU diesel, they're not into particularly the aircraft side of their engines at Friedrichshafen, which is where these guys are based. But they have delivered off the production line the Series 4000 engines, which I believe are going to be fitted to some ferries, is what which I've managed to glean and figure out. What I would be interested to know is, have they used ship decks? Will they use ship decks? And if they have, did it work for them? Marco in Italy, I know you watch this. Maybe you would know the answer to that. I do have some contacts down at MTU down at Friedrichshafen. I'll drop them an email and ask if they can answer the question for me, but that would be interesting. Out of all of the releases that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the ones that I believe that are really worth a read are the Pratt & Whitney ones and this one from Rolls-Royce. Now, this one from Rolls-Royce, for me, is kind of, you need to read the whole release to kind of get an idea of what they're talking about. But they're talking about how the product and information is coming closer together, and their tool set, the Intelligent Insights tool, is actually going to utilize that, is going to work in that kind of area. And I thought that was super interesting, especially as the Internet of Things is becoming something that is becoming more and more talked about around technical information and maintenance tasks. I think that would be super interesting to have a read of, and again, we'll put the little link down below for you. So this one, I call it the Hokey Cokey project, because the UK MOD were in and then they were out, and now we're back in again. So the Boxer project, which I believe is being driven out of Munich, and again, we've reached out to this organisation. The UK MOD has decided that they will now actually buy the Boxer platform, and it actually looks a super interesting product. It absolutely looks a super interesting platform. Interchangeable bodies depending on the rule and the roulement of the platform. So I believe it is an S1000D program, and I have spoken to some contacts of mine that are working in the supply chain to Boxer, and I believe that that's a great purchase. And what remains interesting for me is how the UK MOD will manage the content, if they are managing the content. I'd also be interested to know how that content's being delivered. So, but I understand that the left leg is in on this one. So I want to talk a little bit about some augmented reality. Now, this is something that's super interesting. Augmented and virtual reality. A couple of really interesting stuff has come up over the last couple of weeks. And Firefox. Now, if you don't know what Firefox is. Firefox is a web browser, and Firefox is like, you know, those in the Android and those in the Apple camps, you know, the fanboys. Firefox kind of fits into this, and you know, it's a web browser, and they have announced over the last couple of weeks that they are developing a specific browser for AR and VR headsets. So I'm sure all the technology companies out there will be super interested and super interested in what they have to do and what they're saying around the Firefox reality browser, I think they're calling it. I don't know. Now you may ask yourself, what does Uncle Ben's rice have to do with technical information? Now, apart from the fact that I love rice, and apart from the fact that I love Uncle Ben's rice, there is an announcement that came out through Blippar. Now, if you don't know what Blippar is, it's an augmented reality app that is available free of charge, Android, iOS, and you can download it, install it on your machine, and you point it at things and it augments a load of information around things. Now, what Uncle Ben's have done, which is great for all those eco warriors out there, of which my daughter is one, you can see where this packet of rice that you have purchased has come from. So you'll be able to point Blippar at your particular batch of rice. You'll be able to see where it originated. You'll be able to see the supply chain and how it got to the supermarket. And so it's kind of that eco-sustainability that they are looking for, and they're trying to, you know, answer those questions. But then I start thinking, well, how could we use that in technical information? How can we use that in our product support? And when you start thinking about what Uncle Ben's have done, that opens up a raft of opportunity to technical information. It opens up a raft of opportunity to product support. Could you imagine having a technical manual that has a trigger on it, and a trigger in augmented and virtual reality senses? You point it at it and it tells the app to do something. Is you point it at the technical manual and it tells you if it's in or out of date. It tells you where it came from. It tells you whether it's an authorized copy or whether it's a hooky copy. You know, those kind of things. What about pointing it at a part, and the part says this is it's a knockoff part, or it's an authenticated part, and this is its production history, and this is its test history and its QA history. I think the opportunity out there is absolutely huge, and I think that will only come. You technology companies out there, I think it's absolutely phenomenal what Uncle Ben's have done here. And if you draw the comparison to the processes that we need to implement within our sector, fantastic. Anyway, the S1000D user forum in the United States. Last week they, I think they opened pre-registration. I don't remember. I did read the email, but I didn't read it fully. Is the S1000D user forum in New Orleans, and it's quite aptly named Integrated and Interoperable Lifecycle Specifications, the Driving Element for Product Support Innovation. Okay, it's the S1000D user forum and surrounding specifications, which will be in New Orleans in September. And you can submit papers, and I believe you can pre-register now. I was asked again last week if I'm going. Right now, I do not have plans to go to New Orleans. Quite simply because I went to Seville, and Amsterdam was just exactly the same as what was talked about in Seville. So until I've seen the agenda, and if there's anything new, then then I may go. Unless any of my customers that are watching, any TDW, TDIQ subscribers who are going and who would like to meet me and would like to sit down and have a coffee and chew the Tech Docs cud, if you are going and you would like me to come, say so, and I'll get Claire to book the tickets, and I will come on over. No problem at all. The ATA e-business program last week, launched or announced 2 updates to 2 specifications. Again, we will put the information down below. You can go and have a look at that. If you are a member of that program, you can go and get it for free, or both of these for free. If you are not a member of this program, of which we are not, get your credit card out and you can have these specifications. Now, not strictly technical publications related, but this is something that I have been following for a very long time, and you know, my friends down in South Africa, and I've had the privilege and the pleasure of working with some very talented and lovely people down in South Africa. If you don't know who Denel are, Denel is like the BAE Systems of South Africa. And BAE's, you know, Denel have been through the mire recently, and there's a whole load of controversy that has really kind of put the company on the knife edge. And I saw the announcement yesterday that a new interim board of directors has been appointed to rescue the company. And you know, the guys that I've dealt with are at Aerospace, Dynamics and Land Systems. And you know, the guys down there have been concerned for a very long time about job security and kind of stability of the company and that kind of stuff. Sounds like that the government down there has a plan in place to try and repair the damage that's been done. And although I did see an announcement yesterday that said that staff may be asked to go on to reduced working days or reduced hours in the short term to try and kind of help the company recover. I hope that everybody I know down in South Africa and all of those wonderful places are not drastically or desperately affected by this, but I'm hoping that that is positive news. Okay, we're going to go on to some member news now. So DCS had a conference call with DCS yesterday. Just get myself comfortable while I get even more excited. DCS are still looking for people. I'll just have a quick slurp. DCS are still looking for technical authors, technical illustrators, project managers, anybody who really understands their onions when it comes to technical information. Now, I mentioned it in a Thursday Thoughts a few weeks ago, and we included the link, and there was a tremendous amount of click-throughs, people clicking to go and have a look at the DCS website. So we will do the same again this week. We'll put it up. If you are interested, then do get in touch. It's not the best screenshot I've taken, but you know, Martin is on LinkedIn and you can contact him and get in touch with them. They are looking for people. They are a company growing and growing quickly, so they need great and good people. On the DCS front, Martin on the conference call yesterday was pleased to tell me that they have been shortlisted for 4 awards by Achievement in International Business. I think it's by the Hertfordshire Business Awards. So so they've been shortlisted for those, and I said I would mention it, and it looks like that you know, the chances are they'll probably win at least 1 or 2 of those. So as soon as they do, we will make sure that we announce that here on Thursday Thoughts. But well done, DCS. As I said, they're a company that's going somewhere and moving and growing at pace. In fact, I'm going up there in a few weeks to spend some time with them. This week, I sat with Lisa Muller from O'Neill Associates. Lisa's recently joined them, and she is the head of sales or she's VP sales and marketing, I believe. And we sat for about 2 or 3 hours and we chatted about, you know, TDW and what we do, and she briefed me a little bit about what O'Neill and Associates do. And keep an eye out on our channels. We're going to be doing some kind of co-op and promotion type stuff with O'Neill's about what they do and how they do it. They've got some very interesting technology, some very interesting capability, and they work with some very interesting customers. So we are going to be putting something together very shortly on working with O'Neill's. We did take our camera up to London with us, where we had the meeting, and we did a little vlog on the road. So we will put that together, and like the SemCon one from a couple of weeks ago, we will put that up on the YouTube, and you guys can watch that. It actually ends with me enjoying a pizza at Harrods, so keep your eye out for that. Anyway, some TDW stuff now. So I know we've been going 25 minutes. We're probably going to be going another 10-15 minutes, guys, if you're going to hang around. And a number of you keep sending in your requests for the TDW magazine. When is it going to be dispatched? When is it going to be made live? Okay, this is on me because I wanted to change something last minute. So the online version will go up Monday, Tuesday next week. So those of you who have access to the online version, completely free of charge. So if you want to have access to the online version, get in touch with us at Tech Data World, member services at techdataworld.com, and we will give you access completely free of charge to the online version of the TDW magazine. But it will be made live early next week. There was just some illustrations that I wanted to have changed and put up. The printed versions will also go out probably towards the end of next week. Episode 6 of our podcast, which is kind of a continuation on capturing the ROI from technical information and demonstrating the ROI. But this podcast, I looked a little bit more of the how. I looked a little bit of some of the mechanics of capturing metrics and how you measure what you do, but not from a production perspective, but from a deployment perspective, and how that can, capturing those metrics can give you that metric-driven business decision making power. And so episode 6 of that is available. Episode 7 we announced will be on protecting of intellectual property of technical information. Those of you who have already registered, thank you very much. I know there's been some of you. We have opened formally the registration for TDW Live, and we've opened the registration for the Innovation in Information event in Tamworth. So you can go to events.techdataworld.com and have a look at those. I know we've received some bookings already. I haven't had the name sent to me yet, but thank you. I do know that we've had some people book on already. Remember, TDIQ subscribers, you will get access to the conference via your panel anyway, so don't worry about that. Right. 8 questions, and then I'll let you all go home or get on with your day or whatever it is that you are doing in your part of the world. So, do you offer a monthly plan for TDIQ? Now, the short answer was, we do now, but we didn't previously. And we didn't do it previously because it was just hard work for us to manage monthly subscriptions. And but we've had enough requests now for us to put a mechanism in place to be able to manage a monthly plan. So again, down below there'll be a link for you to go and have a look at those plans that are available, and you can go and check them out and make sure that it's something that's interesting to you. Do you plan to cover rail and shipping? Now, this is an interesting question because we've talked about this, because S1000D and some of the standards and specifications that we support do go into those industries. And, we've already started talking about shipping. And in the last issue of the magazine, Marco from the Shipdex community put something in around Shipdex and what Shipdex is. And not in this issue, but in the next issue, he's doing something on the Shipdex viewer, which is going to be available to that community. So the answer is yes, we're kind of already doing it. We don't just really shout as much about it as we do with the aerospace, defense and space stuff. So we will be doing it. This question came in from Canada, and how much to join the next TDIQ live lesson. And you were specifically interested in the creating an S1000D DMRL from a legacy document. And we don't sell per course access to TDIQ. You can buy a subscription to TDIQ and you gain access to all of our courses and our live lessons and conferences and all of those kind of things. So I think Lewis has answered you, but just in case anybody else is looking for just pure single course access, we don't do that, unfortunately. Can you send the agenda from TDW Live 7? I believe you personally have already got it, but somebody asked us for this because they needed it to support the business case to come to our conference this year. So we have created a PDF version of the agenda. So if you need access to the PDF version, get in touch with Claire at techdataworld.com. She has it, she'll send it to you, and hopefully that will give you the power you need to be able to convince the bosses that you can come along to TDW Live this year. But I believe you already have yours, the person who asked the question. Webinars, will we be doing webinars? This question came in from a conversation with a vendor that I was talking to. And my belief is that you guys want to consume more content like this, which is more live, interactive, lengthier sessions on, rather than it all being, PowerPoint led, on subjects that's been done a million times and, to death, but with a slightly different tone. My belief is we should be doing more of this kind of stuff. Now, yesterday, I had a conversation with the people that we have purchased the live streaming software from, which is not cheap, by the way, and they have told us how we can actually use it to do webinars. So we have the capability to do it, and unless you have a subject which we believe is interesting and will resonate, we won't promote a webinar that is just something that people have done a million times. And because the market's well beyond that, we need new, fresh content. And so those member vendors that want to do webinars, we can still do it. We have the capability, but please, 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 let's have subjects which are exciting and get the juices flowing. Can I contribute to the TDW magazine? The answer in short is yes. But the answer in length is, well, please don't use a Gmail address, and please tell us who you are and what your background is. And, are you a trainer? Are you a consultant? Are you a tech pubs manager? Are you, fill in the blank? We prefer it if people communicate with us through their corporate email addresses. We generally, I say generally, we look at the Gmails and the Hotmails and the Yahoos, and we think that it's people fishing for information. That's not always the case. But if, for things like this, absolutely, if you want to contribute to the magazine, we look for people who can contribute a series of articles. So like Mike Day, Ian Proudfoot, Berry Braster and Etteplan, have all contributed, Roy Scorer, contributed a series of articles that we could publish over a number of different issues, because I think that is something that adds real value. But absolutely, I've sent you an email, you've not responded yet, but please do get back in touch with me if it is something you would like to take further. Where do you think the next generation of authors will come from? Now, this came up during a discussion over a coffee with a customer, and the reality is that, in fact, today I was reading my latest MRO magazine, and the MRO magazine actually has exactly the same problem, but from an engineering perspective. So they're saying that the engineers, and if anybody wants a copy of the article, I can point you to it. The article is essentially saying that mature engineers are retiring faster than they can get new engineers in to the market, and the same's happening in technical publications. And in fact, the article goes on to say that those with military and civil experience are retiring much quicker, and there's nothing coming in to replace those. And that's exactly the same for technical publications. It's exactly the same. So this was kind of one of the reasons why we started TDW. We started TDW because we could see that there was going to be a skills gap. We could see that the aging skills were going to be retiring. So TDW, I wanted to freshen up and brighten up this market to make it something that's appealing to those that are looking for a career in communication, are looking for a career in what we do and what we're passionate about. So it's difficult. I know that some people have got apprenticeship schemes, and but we have started something here which is going through a process right now that we hope will encourage some of that new fresh talent into the domain. This is one of the problems, and why I believe that a lot of people are actually now just going, you know what, we will just outsource our technical publications. We're just going to outsource it to a Lionbridge, to a DCS, to a CDS, to a Jana, to a Flatiron Juve, to a, sorry if I've missed anybody, you know, O'Neill's. So you know, it's a lot of it is now just being, you know, we can't find the skills, so we're just going to outsource it, and we're going to give it all to an external supplier. This last question, and I promise I'll let you go, is that I was having coffee with a customer, and a new customer that wants us to help them implement some technical publications processes and strategies for them. And you know, we were talking about S1000D, we were talking about DITA, we're talking about, you know, other XML-based standards and specifications. And I thought it really interesting that he turned around to me and said, S1000D, but that's just for Boeing and Airbus projects, which I thought was interesting, because that's a perception that a lot of people do have. A lot of people believe that unless, you know, you're working with Airbus and Boeing, then S1000D is really not appropriate to them. But I've already mentioned things like the Boxer program. You know, that's a land systems, military land systems. I'm pretty sure that's on S1000D. I know Denel in South Africa in their land systems have used, and I believe continue to use on some programs, S1000D. So, but I just thought it was interesting, because it's something that gets said to me quite frequently and quite regularly, and it highlights that there is a communication problem from the community as a whole, that it's not just about Airbus, it's not just about Boeing. There are lots of other programs that use S1000D that are not even aerospace. So so I put you right, and you agreed that I could use this in Thursday Thoughts, and you know, that is not the case. And we chewed the cud for a couple of hours on DITA versus S1000D, and you know, you kind of like DITA, which is interesting. But so those are all the questions. It just leaves me to say that those of you who are joining me on Tuesday for the TDIQ live lesson, we will be going live 3 PM UK time on Tuesday. Monday you'll be able to download the course material, which will be a PDF copy of the technical manual. And in fact, if I change my screen here, if I clear that and I do that, we are going to go through that manual right there, and we are going to make an S1000D DMRL from that. So those of you who plan to join me on that part of your TDIQ subscription, I look forward to speaking to you on Tuesday. If not, there are loads of you that I could speak to on, I'm just checking to make sure we've had no chats or anything that have come in to us. So I can't see anything. I can't check the social media, unfortunately. So if you are commenting on social media, I'll have to get back to you next week. But I hope that those of you that are joining me on Tuesday, we look forward to that. I'm looking forward to giving it. It's going to be a 2-3 hour session, so it's going to be a long one. Make sure you've got plenty of water and lots of caffeine inside you. And I hope that you found this week's Thursday Thoughts interesting. Slightly longer than 30 minutes. We'll try and keep it under the 30 minutes for next week. But remember that if you want to get in touch with us, you know how to get in touch with us. And if you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, then please do get in touch. Just one final shout out to the chappie who sent in the email yesterday on your comments on TDIQ. Thank you very much. We like it as well. I'm glad you like it. And thank you for the suggestions on the new courses that you came up with. We've added them to the list, and we will certainly look at adding those over the coming weeks and months. And that just leaves me to say, guys and girls, wherever you are in the world, either have a good evening, enjoy the rest of your day, or good morning. And I'll speak to you, or those of you online, Tuesday or next week. Cheers, guys.